Hello everybody. I wish I could have welcomed you for our traditional tasting just before the auction of the wine of the Hospices de Beaune, but it's impossible this year. So let's talk about the vintage and let's share few wines among my favorites for you to have an idea of what the vintage was, the decision we've taken, and how the wines are showing right now. The vintage 2020 was really unexpected for different reasons. First of all, the winter was very rainy, so we had a lot of water in our soil. Then the spring was very warm and hot, so the vineyards started to grow very easily and really fastly. This is probably why we have a very early vintage in 2020, an historic early vintage. So historic that we started to harvest on the 18th of August to finish on the 29th of August. Regarding to the wines now, because they are made, I can tell you that they are in the two different colors, very, very great wines. Let's start with the Chardonnay. The Chardonnay are not that high in degree, in alcoholic degree, around 13, which is also a sign of very good balanced wine. The acidity is here, the freshness as well. We have some pear, peach, white fruits aromas, and also in mouth we have this nice level of acidity, but also the density. We're probably going to stir the lees in order to fill in the mouth of the whites, but I guess it will be a very long-term aging potential vintage. Regarding to the reds now, they have a very deep and dark red cherry color, all of them. It was rather easy to extract. The tannins were also easy to extract. That's why we have a very nice structure, a lot of texture as well, but not with dry tannins, not with very heavy tannins. Everything is like rather light but deep. And the acidity is also a parameter that I can mention here because to me it's really involved in the potential of aging of these wines. And as well, we have this balance into the reds that could be really, really characteristic of the 2020 vintage. The idea was to taste with you some of my favorite wines this year. I had to select 3 of them in whites. That was rather difficult. But I'll show you the Saint-Romain, cuvée Joseph Menot, and also the Meursault Premier Cru Les Charmes, cuvée Albert Griveau, and finish with the Corton Charlemagne Grand Cru, cuvée François de Salins. So let's start with the Saint-Romain. We finished by this parcel in terms of harvest. So we had to wait for the balance to be inside, and it was successful because we have very complex nose with white fruits like peach, pear, small toasted as well because it's only in new oak, 100% in new oak barrel, French oak of course. And in mouth, the acidity is straight away here. We have this balance, we have this elegance, and afterwards we have also a very concentrated and deep wines by the end. For me, it's one of the great value for this year to bid on. The second white wines that I really love this year is the Meursault Premier Cru Les Charmes. Just for you to remember, the cuvée Albert Griveau is Les Charmes du Dessous. We have this minerality and the deepness. It smells like yellow fruits as well. And it's more toasted. It's like if the oak has to be more integrated so far. En masse is very typical like Meursault, very full-bodied, round, soft, but the minerality is really here and the acidity as well. So to me it's a really great potential wine in terms of aging and also in terms of devenir, like we can say in French. So probably the aging will have to be a bit longer, but really, really rust and promising wine. Is that correct? Yes, it is. The Corton Charlemagne now, as usual, a little bit more shy on the nose, not really well placed between fruits or oak or minerality or acidity. Everything is inside, but at the moment it's not really well balanced on the nose. It's all mixed, I would say. But on the mouth, things are more straight, more like an evidence. Everything is here, the acidity, the alcohol, not too high, the balance, and even if this kind of Grand Cru is always more difficult to be tasted when it's young, I guess probably the Malo can be inside because it started to be rounder and softer than what we have a few days ago. So another really promising wine, not as easy to beat on, but why not? Let's go on with the reds now. I could have selected a lot of them, especially in Montelis or Pernan-Vergelès, because they're showing very, very nice wines. But being in Beaune, producing Beaune on 21 hectares, it seemed a bit more obvious for me to select among the Beaune cuvées. And my choice was on the Beaune Premier Cru cuvée Nicolas Rollin, just for you to remember, composed of different terroirs like Beaune-Teron, Beaune-Grève, Bressande, Genêt, and Saint-Vigne. I wish I didn't forget any of them. And it's one of my favorite because everything is inside. The very fresh fruit on cherry, raspberry, strawberry as well. A little bit of oak, but not too much. And full-bodied on the mouth. Everything is inside, like very concentrated tannins. We can feel them. They are very powerful. They are very dense, I would say, on density. But afterwards, once it's swallowed, the acidity is here, and you have very nice and deep texture, deep structure on the wines. And to me, it's what we can expect for this very special vintage, especially in Beaune Premier Cru. The second wine I wish you could have tasted with me, so I'll do that for you, is the Volnay Premier Cru Centenot, Cuvée Géant de Massol. This wine is a very dark color. You can see the cherry deep color. The nose is more on red fruits like blackcurrant. The oak is not that mixed yet, but to me it's really promising as well. The elegance of Volnay is inside, but the texture of Centenot is also mixed with the elegance. So we have a nice expression here of what 2020 can be. Fruity, elegant, but deep. And these tannins, so good, so balanced from the beginning up to the end. With the level of acidity, which is just here to remember how big will be the potential for this wine to be kept. Very good. I like the oakiness. It was difficult for me to choose between Corton or the Côte de Nuit or the Côte de Nuit or Corton. But by the end, that would be the Côte de Nuit with the Madi Chambertin. This very special cuvée here, we produce only 17 barrels on 1.7 hectares. It's just for you to have an idea of how low the yields were in reds this year. And I'm really pleased with the very dark and deep colors. They all have this deep color. for our reds, but this one is particularly brilliant, I would say. And on the nose, it's really complex on both oaky and white or almost white fruits. That could be really surprising, blind tasting it. But we also have raspberry and strawberry on the nose. The oak is also here, but more discreet, I would say. On the palate, we have a very strong and at the beginning very strong tannins, but by the end, after a few seconds, it's really really soft, like pastry. It's like a puzzle. Everything is inside, but it has to be all well put on paper. Everything is inside. This really exceptional Grand Cru for me is really high on potential and really on devenir, as we can say in French. I would like to say thank you. Thank you for sharing this moment, even if it's not physically, but I wish we can share this really special and really nice moment next year. So I wish you all the best. Take care, stay safe, and see you next year.